Section 3.5, Equations of Lines. Objective 1, using slope-intercept form to write equations of lines. This section is about having details about a line and then forming the equation. So, example 1, we want to use the slope-intercept form of the linear equation of the line with the given slope and y-intercept. So what we want to do for each is write it in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is that y equals mx plus b that we're so used to seeing. So what we want to do is put this information into y equals mx plus b. And just a reminder that the m is the slope, the b is the y-intercept. So for A, we have a slope of -4 and a y-intercept of 0, -2. So we have a slope of -4 and a y-intercept of -2. So we have y equals m, which is -4, x, and then our y-intercept is -2. So it's not going to be plus -2, it's just going to be -2. And we have our solution for A. Now for B, it says the slope is 2 and the y-intercept is 0. So we have y equals m, which is 2, and then plus 0. We don't really ever put plus 0, so it's y equals 2x, and that's for B. Objective 2, writing an equation of a line. When you see find equation line, so anywhere in the question, if it says find equation line, doesn't matter what comes before or after it. If you see those three words, you use these steps. The first thing you want to do is find the slope. Sometimes they give it to you. Sometimes you have to find it. Sometimes you have to get it from a parallel or perpendicular line. Your second step is to label any point. And you're going to label it, so you're going to pick a point. Sometimes they give you 2, sometimes they give you 1, and you're going to label it x1, y1. Your third step is to use point-slope form. We use that from steps 1 and 2, because steps 2 we have a point, step 1 we have a slope, that gives us point-slope form. We plug in our m, y1, and x1. Our fourth step, we need to solve for y to obtain slope-intercept form. So to get y equals mx plus b, we have to isolate y and solve for y. Now, if needed, we need to go to standard form. It's also known as general form, so I refer to it as both ways. That's no fractions, variables on one side, and that's ax plus by equals c. Remember, standard or general form has no fractions, so if you need to get to step 5, you need to take away the fractions, and we will go over an example just like that. Example 2, find the equation of a line passing through the given points. So part A, we have points 2, 5 and -4, 3, and we want to write this in slope-intercept form. Make sure when you read the directions you know what form it wants it in. So our first step is to find the slope. They give us 2 points. So since they give us 2 points, we need to use m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. So we have 3 minus 5 over -4 minus 2. 3 minus 5 is -2. -4 minus 2 is -6. We're going to reduce this. Negative and negative become positive, and we can reduce this by 2 to get 1 over 3. So our m is 1 over 3. Our second step is to pick a point. Now, any point you want. It could either be 2, 5 or -4, 3. But you want to stay with positive numbers or smaller numbers. So because 2, 5 it's both positive, we're going to pick 2, 5. And then we label that x1, y1. Our third step is to use point-slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. You are going to have to memorize every single formula we are going over in this section. So steps 1 through 5, you have to memorize those formulas. Write them down every time you use them. It'll be a lot easier to memorize them. So we have y minus y1, which is 5, equals m, which is 1 over 3, times x minus x1, which is 2. And now our fourth step is solve for y. We're going to solve for y to get the solution in slope-intercept form. So we solve for y by distributing our 1/3. So we have y minus 5 equals 1/3 x minus 2 over 3. Still need to solve for y, so we're going to add 5 over. So we have y equals 1 over 3. Oop, wrong color. We have y equals 1 over 3x plus 13 over 3. And that is in y equals mx plus b form. That's slope-intercept form. So we have our solution. Now, if you're confused on how we got 13 over 3 when we added 5, I'm going to bring that out. So here we have negative 2 over 3 plus 5 over 1. We need a common denominator, which is going to be 3. So times 3 times 3. We get negative 2 over 3 plus 15 over 3. And that leaves us with 13 over 3. So that's how we get 13 over 3. Now, b. Going back up to b. We want to write this in standard form using the points negative 3, 2 and 1, negative 1. I'm going to have to write this to the side. So here we have b. We're using the points negative 3, 2 and 1, negative 1, and we want to write this in standard form. So standard form we're going to take all the way down to step 5. So the first thing we need to do is find our slope, and that's m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. We have negative 1 minus 2, and 1 minus negative 3. The negatives on the bottom become positive. So we have negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3, and 1 plus 3 is 4. So we have an m of negative 3 over 4. Our second step is to pick a point. I'm going to pick 1, negative 1 because it's just smaller numbers. They both have negative numbers in it. So at this point we're just going to smaller. So we pick the point, 1, negative 1, and we label it x1, y1. Our third step is to use point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we have y minus y1, which is negative 1, equals m times x minus x1, which is 1. Oop. Didn't put the m in, don't know why. We have our m. We have our m of negative 3 over 4. Now we need to solve for y. That's our fourth step. So even though we need to go to standard form, you still need to follow each step to get to standard form. So you still need to do step 4. We need to distribute negative 3 over 4. So we have y plus 1 equals negative 3 over 4x plus 3 over 4. Now we still need to solve for y by subtracting 1. So we have y equals negative 3 over 4x minus 1/4. Now if you're asking how we got that, we have 3 over 4 minus 1. So our common denominator is 4. So times 4 times 4, we get 3 over 4. Oh, wrong color. We get 3 over 4 minus 4 over 4 leaves us with negative 1 over 4. Now, standard form, we need to get the variables on one side and have no fractions. So step 5 is the ax plus by equals c. Now, in order to get standard form, we need to move over the x. So we add 3 over 4x, add 3 over 4x. So we have 3 over 4x plus y equals negative 1 over 4. Now, to get rid of these fractions, we need to multiply by the common denominator. The denominator here is 4. So we're going to multiply everything by 4. Now, when we multiply the fraction and the denominator is the same, just write what's left on top. So 3x, we need to multiply 4 and y. So 4y equals, see how that 4 is on the denominator? So just write what's on top, negative 1. And that is our solution. Alright, next. Example 3. In 1997, Windows World Inc. had 50 employees. In 2012, the company had 85 employees. Let X represent the number of years after 1997, and let Y represent the number of employees. Assume that the relationship between the years and numbers of employees is linear. Write an equation describing this relationship. Use the equation to predict the number of employees in 2007. So you see how it says write equation, linear, that's line. So you're technically still getting all of the same information that says write equation line. Now we have a couple pieces of information here. We have 1997, they had 50 employees, and in 2012, they had 85 employees. So we have 2 points here. Our first point is 1997 and 50. We know that 1997 is x because it says we let x represent the number of years, and we let y represent the number of employees. And then our second set is 2012 and 85. Now we have 2 points. We can go ahead and do this. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. Our first step is to find the slope. So we have our m equals 85 minus 50, and 2012 minus 1997. That leaves us with 35 over 15. Reduce each by 5 to get 7 over 3. Our second step is to pick a point. Now, it doesn't matter which one you pick. I'm just going to pick 2012 and 85. We're going to label that x1, y1. Now we use point slope form, which is our y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we have y minus y1, which is 85, equals m, which is 7 over 3, times x minus x1, which is 2012. Now we need to solve for y. If it doesn't specifically say what form it wants to be in, go all the way to step 4 and write it in slope-intercept form. That's usually the general one if it's unsaid. So if they don't say what form it needs to be in, go to step 4 and just write it in slope-intercept form. So we need to solve for y. So we solve for y by multiplying 7 over 3 to x in 2012. So we have y minus 85 equals 7 over 3x minus 4,694.67. We're going to add 85. So we have y equals 7, wrong color. We have y equals 7 over 3x minus 4,609.67. Now that's the answer to A. B, I'll go up to B. B wants to use the equation to predict the number of employees in 2007. So what does 2000 represent? Is that x or y? It represents the x because it says in the problem that the years are x. So we're going to plug that in for our x into our equation, also known as the model. It's called the model because this is what we model and how to find things in the future or in the past. So for B, our x equals 2007, and all we're going to do is just plug it in. So we have y equals 7 over 3 times x, which is 2007, minus 4,609.67. So we have y equals, we multiply 7 over 3 times 2007, we get 4,683 minus 4,609.67. So we have y equals 73. It comes out to 73.33, but you can't have 0.33 amount of people, so you have 73 people. And that's the answer to B. Now, when you go over this, you need to see, does it actually make sense? Does it make sense that in 2000 we have 73 people? Let's take a look at the problem. So it says in 1997 we have 50 people, and in 2012 we have 85 people. So 75 is in between there. So it does work. So it's not outlandish. It's not a number that doesn't make sense. Alright, example 4. Write an equation of a horizontal line containing the point 4,5. Now, if it asks for a horizontal or vertical or undefined line, there's a trick to what you can do. You can do all the 5 steps if you forget, but it's easier just to kind of memorize what is a horizontal line, what does undefined slope mean, what is a vertical line. So a horizontal line looks like this. It crosses the y-axis, so that's y equals. In the point, what does y equal? 5. So the equation is y equals 5. Yep, it's just that easy. Example 5. Write the equation of the line containing the point 4,5 with undefined slope. So undefined slope, that's the straight up and down, that's a vertical line, which is x equals. So what does x equal in the equation? 4. There we go. Example 6. Find the equation of the line through 1, 5 and perpendicular to y equals negative 7. So let's visualize what is y equals negative 7. That's down here. It goes across. So perpendicular means it crosses at a 90-degree angle. So a 90-degree angle, it would have to cross vertically. So vertical is x equals. What does x equal in this point? 1. So the answer is x equals 1. Example 7. Last example. Write the equation of the line containing the point 3, negative 5 and perpendicular to the line 3x plus 2y equals 7. We're going to write this in slope-intercept form. So it says write equation line. Our steps do not change. Our first step is to find the slope. So first, it states that it's perpendicular to this line. So if it's perpendicular to that line, we can find the slope. because the perpendicular slope is the negative reciprocal, so you flip it and change the sign. So we need to find the slope and then find the perpendicular slope of that. So we have 3x plus 2y equals 7. To find the slope, we need to solve for y, so we subtract 3x. We have 2y equals negative 3x plus 7, divide by 2. So we have y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 7 over 2. So something that's perpendicular to this, so this is the line that's given, and then this is the perpendicular line. So the line given, the m, is negative 3 over 2. So for it to be perpendicular, you flip it and change the sign. So if we flip it, it's 2 over 3, and negative becomes positive. So our m that we're going to use is 2 over 3. Our second step is to still pick a point. They only give us 1 point, so that's the one we're going to pick, which is 3, negative 5. And we label that x1, y1. Our third step is to use point slope form, which is our y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we have y minus negative 5 equals m, which is 2 over 3, times x minus x1, which is 3. So we need to write it in slope-intercept form. Therefore, we need to solve for y. We're going to distribute. So we have now y plus 5 equals, because the two negatives become positive, 2 over 3x minus 2. You see how if we multiply 2 over 3 times 3, the denominator and the number is the same, so they cancel out. You just write what's on top. Then we subtract 5. So we have y equals 2/3 x minus 7. There's our solution. Now, if it said parallel, if it said it goes through the point 3, negative 5 in parallel to 3x plus 2y, you would do the same thing we did to find the slope, except instead of flipping it, it's going to be the exact same thing. So if this were to be a parallel line, then the slope would be negative 3 over 2. So just keep a lookout for that. Make sure you read your problems carefully.